All right. Pete Mitchell here. Tyrone, were you able to make it on?
Yeah, Pete, how are you? It's great to be here.
Good. Awesome, man. Hey, guys, before we get into today's topic, which is going to be, depending on where you're at, this might be a little bit of a bit of a curve for you, but we're going to talk about being a Facebook ad consultant, or what I like to call a social media manager, as a way to be BIVO if you're a pastor or a church planner. And I asked Tyrone on today for a couple of reasons. One, because Tyrone is a church planner. He is BIVO. He's gone through my business growth consulting program. And he and I've talked a lot about some of the Facebook stuff that you can do as a way to generate income while you're planning your church or being a pastor. And so, Tyrone, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about your experience and what it's done for you going through the business growth consulting program, because I know you went through that. I mean, you started down that path quite a little bit of time ago now. So tell everyone a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, that class has to be the single most important thing I've done for my family and myself in the last probably 3 years. And that's saying a lot. So we were missionaries, and then God brought us here to the U.S. to be church planners. And so we've done a lot for the church, we've done a lot for advancing the kingdom. But to take care of myself and my family, that was probably the single greatest thing I've done since then. It's given my wife a lot of peace, and just knowing that, hey, we can go out and we can find new clients. It's brought obvious revenue to our family. I just mobile deposited a check that I picked up from a client and got a call from another client saying, hey, I need you to stop by and pick up a check later today if you can. So, I mean, it's just been groundbreaking for us.
They asked you if you can pick up the check later today. You're like, yeah. Yes, my car can drive over there.
I will find a way. He goes, if it's in your schedule, otherwise we can do it tomorrow. It's like, I'm just going to happen to be in your area later today. So, and the funny thing is, recently I was in the hospital, and I was hospitalized because last year I got mono. This year I was having some other issues, and it was just the stress of church planning. And I was working another job and doing this bivocational piece with the whole Bible class, and this Bible class was going to be able to take over my income that I was making from a 40-hour-a-week job in a fraction of the time. So it's been. I can't brag about it enough. You'll have to stop me, actually. So, well,
I'm glad that you're saying all those things, and obviously the check's in the mail. I appreciate you. But I want to share this with everyone. One of the uniquenesses with Tyrone, and I will say this: the BIVO, the business growth consulting for church planners or pastors who are BIVO, it's definitely not for everyone. In fact, I have guys who go through the webinar on that, and then they reach out to me, and I talk to them, and I've told more than one person, I'm like, look, I don't think this is for you, and I don't think it's for everyone. And what kind of makes you unique, if you will, and I will share this too when we get into the being a social media manager and doing things like that. Who is it appropriate for? But one of the uniquenesses with you is that you're an implementer. You're an action taker. And that is the single biggest thing that I harp on when I get on the phone with people. Because everyone wants to know, look, if I'm going to drop $5,000 to go into this program, is it going to work for me, right? That's what everyone wants to know. Is it going to work for me? And so they all ask it in their own unique way. And usually it comes through with, what's the average that people are making after they've gone through the program? I mean, that's the sly way, if you will, of asking, is this going to work for me? And one of the things that I tell everyone, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I tell them, I go, look, first of all, you're never going to be able to say, oh, Pete held back on me. He didn't give me enough info, because I lay out everything. I give you everything I've got, and with the Voxer access, which we'll even talk about as we go through this, because to me, the Voxer access, which is a push-to-talk app, it's how we communicate as a group. there's nothing I don't answer. I mean, someone's got a question. I'm like, here, this is the solution you're looking for. I go, look, that's not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be, will you take what I give you and actually implement it? And there are speeds at which people implement. And like, you'll even say that you had mono right after you started the course. And so for like 2 to 3 months, you were out of it because you were just like,
right.
I mean, you were sick. And
right.
and it's not just the kissing disease, guys. I mean, you can get it other ways. The only person Tyrone's kissing is his wife. I know that. I mean, I don't know it, but I know it, right? You know.
But you know it, yeah.
Yeah, and
thank you for the endorsement, by the way.
Yeah. But you know, and once you came through that, you were like, okay, man, I got to get on this thing. I gotta put food on the table. And sometimes when you have that pressure, you're just an implementer. And that's one of the things I'll say about you is you're an implementer, and that's what is going to be the key to any sort of thing that you do where you are self-employed, starting a new business, starting a new venture, anything like that. You have to be willing to be an implementer and just taking the action. And, you know, no matter what the program is, whether it's like the social media manager, which we'll talk about here in a bit, being a business growth consultant, I will be there for you every step of the way, but I can't make you take action. And that's kind of the key, right, in my opinion. I don't know if you've got anything you want to throw into that, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think what this what the Bible training did, and Pete, I know you're going to make some changes, some other things coming up, so I want to ask some questions. But I think what the Bible training did is it took away all my excuses. Like you said, there was so much information, and it was well laid out, and it was put together in a concise manner. And all the resources were there. Hey, there's from one of the weeks of classes, there's a specific seminar or a specific product that I'm to sell to, of all things, an esthetician studio, right? And if it's got that finite detail that I can get to, and it's also got the education on how to market, how to bring it to the market, how to sell it to the market. I mean, it's kind of soup to nuts. It was everything you needed. It really was. How do you put it in place, and are you willing to do it? And that Voxer app, I think that not only do we get access to you, which is so powerful, but you get to hear what other guys are doing. So I know you've talked to a number of these guys in the past, and you've put them on various different social media aspects. And the fact of getting to hear what they're doing, it sparks one idea after another, Pete. And that has led, I think, to a sense of community. And everyone's moving forward. Everyone's pushing each other to do better. So yeah, I think there's no excuse. It's you have to decide to do it. And once you do, then things are going to change for you and your family.
Right. Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please do. That's why I actually brought you on. I want you to be able to ask me questions, and we'll go from there.
Now I know you've decided to make some changes to the program. What are the changes you're going to make?
Well, you know, and that's a great transition question, Tyrone. Thank you very much. What I would say is this. In looking at the program, right, and looking at who I choose to serve, and I've mentioned this before, and I'd say it, you know, I don't know to everyone I talk to on the phone, but, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you know, what's in it for you? Like, why are you doing the program? Is it the $5,000 that you charge for being a business growth consultant and all this other jazz? And the reality is I make significantly more money by doing this for clients than I do by teaching this to church planners. And so my goal with this is I've got a certain skill set, and I want to help church planners and pastors who are BIVO, specifically who are BIVO, to be able to earn the income that they need to earn, to be able to spend the time with their family that they want and need to spend with their family, and still focus on their church. And it's really hard to do that when you're bivocational. And there are a lot of great things that people can do as a bivocational pastor, bivocational church planner. And I think I've seen pretty much everyone you could do as a church planner, just because of the Church Planner podcast and Church Planner magazine that I do with Peyton Jones. And so when I originally put together the business growth consulting program, I was like, okay, this is something that I know will help church planners. However, I also know that people who pay attention, and when you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And this was a tough thing that I did with Peyton Jones. For those of you who have listened to Church Planner podcast, our over 200 and some odd episodes of that thing, you've heard Peyton and I go back and forth over the years, literally over the years of doing that podcast, in the different ways that we help people. And one of the things that Peyton came to realize, we've got a program called Jump School, which is all about planning your church and what you need to know in planning your church. It's a 12-month program that we take church planners through. And he used to let the people in New Breed, which is his nonprofit that he does, he used to let those guys go through Jump School for free. And I'm running the back end of the site, and I'm like, dude, these people are literally not even logging in. Like, they are not consuming any of the material. They don't get on the calls. They don't read the transcripts. They don't get the Jump School dossier, which is his church planning tome. I mean, they get nothing. And part of that is because it didn't cost them anything. And so when I was putting the business growth consultant program together, I'm like, okay, looking at myself and knowing that, I'm making mid-six figures off of that, I'm like, okay, what could I possibly put as a price tag on this, which is like people understand the seriousness of it and how valuable it is, and yet it's low enough that they could do it if they wanted to do it. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I'll do it for $5,000, but I'll do the one thing that you're not supposed to do, and that is I'll give them a payment plan option, which is basically $1,000 down and $500 a month for the next 11 months. And you're not supposed to do that because basically most people are going to bow out and go, oh, well, I can't afford it anymore or whatever. And it's because they haven't had enough buy-in that they do that. And, that's a long story, but basically I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, Martin Howie, who Tyrone, and he's like, don't even do it. Don't even do it. I'm like, look, these are church planners. They don't have $5,000. I mean, right. They just don't. But I need them to understand the seriousness of it. And so we did it at that price point. And what that's done is that's allowed me to keep the groups nice and small, where I can be more hands-on with each person that's coming through. Because, I got my own business going on over here on the side, if you will, that demands a lot of my attention. And so I don't want, 100 or 1,000 people going through the program because I can't give them the attention. I want them to be successful at this. I'm not looking just to make a bunch of money selling this thing. I want to – yeah.
I'm sorry. I think you don't brag, and I respect it about you, so I'm going to brag for you for a second. When you say that you make mid-six figures, that's not an exaggeration. I mean, you are very, very successful at this. I mean, you're traveling around the world speaking. You've written books. You've got people coming to you. You've got clients. You actually turn away clients because it's not it's not your wheelhouse. I mean, I think that's something that I just want to note for people. When you're saying this, it's real. And the idea of the passions you have for church planners, I mean, there's a real reason behind that. You were a pastor's kid, right?
Yep.
So maybe talk about, if you would, just for a moment, the passage you have for this, and why would you, this guy is making, mid-six figures, and you're on track to make, 7 figures. What would make you do something like this for a group of people that we can never pay you enough for what you've done?
For me, it comes down to a large part of my adult life, I was out chasing money. And, to use biblical language, it definitely became my idol. And I reached a point where I was like, look, this is not what I want. I feel empty. I feel like, okay, I grew up in the church. I know God. I have a pseudo relationship with God. I mean, and I say pseudo because I was definitely saved, but it's not the same, right? It's not the same when you're a spectator. And that's the way most churches are, is they're set up as spectator sports. We show up on Sunday, we sit in the audience, we watch a bunch of people up on stage sing while we kind of hum along. We watch the pastor do his deal, we get in our car and go home. And for me, I like to tell people I had a head-on collision with Jesus when I got involved in church planning. And when it stopped being a spectator sport and it was like, let's get into the game. And even though, I got to be careful how I say this, because I don't say that I am a church planter. I was part of a church planting team, but Peyton is the church planter, and I wasn't even on staff most of the time. Like, I became treasurer at one point, and then honestly I got sick of being treasurer because I couldn't stand knowing what people were or weren't giving, right? It was just like, I'm not comfortable with that, dude. I can't do this anymore. I know how much that dude makes, right? Like those thoughts start going through your head, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is not for me. Yeah. So I'm like, I got to get out. But interestingly enough, along the lines of your question, I had the church plant that we're going to right now, we had a missionary come in and speak. And he was talking all about, all the excuses that we've got for not getting on the mission field, whatever that means. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going. But he's like, we've all got different resources. We've all got different skill sets. And it just re-emphasized to me, okay, I've got a skill set that I know I can really help these guys. Yes, I can give money to church planting. And that's part of what my wife and I do. But what's even bigger than that is what I can give these guys, because I can give them a way that they don't have to be reliant on just the money coming in, which is not to say that that's a bad thing or you're not putting your faith in God or anything like that. It's just, this is a skill set that God's given me. All right, so I'm going to teach these guys, and it's not going to be for everyone. Like, God doesn't have this for everyone. I was talking with a church planter a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the one of the programs, and his background, he's like, I mean, the guy has run so many businesses and made them major 7-figure businesses, and so he goes, what do you think of my odds of doing this? I'm like, I'll be honest with you, of every church planter I've talked to, you're going to have the easiest time at this. And he goes, well, I got to pray about it. And I'm like, absolutely, you got to pray about it. But his reasoning for needing to pray about it was because he goes, my problem is I'll walk down this rabbit hole, to use that term. And he goes, and then I'll start putting all my focus in this because I do enjoy building businesses. I do enjoy that. And he goes, and I don't want to turn my back on my church and my church plant. And so, there's this fine line. And I can't – so I want to be clear that all this stuff that I teach church planners and pastors how to do to make money and things like that, it's not right for everyone. And God's called people to different things. But the changes that you alluded to earlier, where I realized that, okay, I need two things I think would really help church planners even on their way, if you will, to becoming a business growth consultant. One is to have a program that is has a lower barrier to entry financially. Right, so they don't have to be staring down the barrel of a $5,000 ticket item. And secondly, a lot of church planners, I believe, they almost need in being a consultant, you go from doing whatever you used to be doing to selling what I call the intangibles. You're selling your expertise. And that's a tough transition to make. Because it's almost like the way I always refer to it is I sell air, right? I mean, I sell air. It's just what I put in that air happens to be highly skilled knowledge that I'm imparting to people and strategies that I'm giving them so that they can make more money and do things like that. And that's what kind of led to the whole social media manager thing was, this is something that a lot of church planners can kind of get their mind around of of this is something that I can do for people to help them help the business make more money, which is what they want. You get to get paid for what you're doing. It's not, in my opinion, it's not as good as being a business growth consultant, but it is on the path to being a business growth consultant. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will say this much. I think it gives people the experience, it gives them some expertise, and it lets them start to develop the clientele that they might be able to walk in then and present to. I could see how this would add a great deal to any pastor's skill sets, right? Pete, one of the things is maybe talk about, I'm sure, just like your dad, your dad probably has the same experience as a pastor that I do, which is, do any of us have enough time with our family? Right? And you could go all out and, be working like I am, a bivocational job, and then now I'm getting this business off the ground, and it's like, how do I get more time with my family? I think that's one of the things that this is going to bring people that chance to do is you can do this from anywhere. You can do it from home, and it's going to give you more time with your family. Maybe talk about that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, okay, so let's talk about that whole social media manager thing and what exactly I mean by that. So this program that I'm inviting Bivo pastors and church planners to come into, what it's going to teach you is kind of like the cornerstone aspect of almost everything I do with a client, in one way or another, is going to involve generating more business for them. And where the world is turning to right now is to the internet, right? Everyone knows that. I think I just read a report for the first time in history, more money is being spent on internet advertising than on television advertising. I mean, the shift is here. And the problem is, there's lots of problems that businesses have with this. Is one, it's like, okay, there's all these ways that I can spend money. It doesn't make them all the right way to spend money. And everyone hears about social media, but most business owners are too busy being a business owner to do anything on social media. And most guys who sell social media management and stuff, things like that, really what they're selling is just what I call all of the fluff of social media, which is, okay, we got to post several times a day, and we're going to retweet this, and we're going to repost that, and that's all fine and dandy to a point. The problem is what most business owners need is they need to make more money. So they need more clients through the door, and the best way that you can do that is by running ads, like paid advertisements, not all this social stuff where it's just like retweeting or reposting, but actually running an ad. And they don't know how to do that. They certainly don't know how to do that and turn a profit. And so that's what I put together as the course, is to show people, here's how you can actually run ads. And we're going to start with specifically Facebook. And the reason for that is right now, Facebook is the hottest way to get more business. It just flat out is, because like a seventh of the world is on Facebook. So your prospects, no matter what business someone is in, are on Facebook. Like, they just are. So that's the best place to start. Part of being a social...
Pete?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So, being a missionary, living in Mexico, Honduras, Cambodia, I will tell you that you could be anywhere doing this, and people are using Facebook to market. Right? In Cambodia, it's the way that they were getting high-end clients into new boutiques and new stores. So if they're using it there, and they were almost ahead of the curve of what we're doing here in the U.S., I think, wow, just think about the potential that could be out there for cash flow.
Well, think about Dan Sams, who came through our Bivo growth consultant. That guy is just hitting it out of the park continually. And he did a mission trip. Wasn't it to Honduras? Isn't that where he went? Or was it El Salvador?
Yeah, he went to Honduras.
Was it Honduras?
It was one of the two.
Yeah, it was one of the two. And anyway, while he's there, he's voxing us, and he goes, guys, man, I want to do something for these guys. We've got like no real jobs here. He goes, but we've got great internet. Like, what could we do? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, dude, we could teach those guys how to basically be a Facebook ad agency and market to the States, right? Because it's the internet. You don't have to be face-to-face with people. You can have clients from literally anywhere in the world, and you could be helping them. And along the lines to your original question with time and family and stuff, once you set up an ad campaign, it's not time intensive. You're basically just checking in with things and making tweaks as necessary. And so part of what we're going to go over in the course is training you to know when is it time to make tweaks. When do you need to change up the ad? When do you find a new market that you need to present that ad to? You know, all that type of stuff that a business owner has no time to do, but that's what we're going to teach them to do. And so the reason why I say it's lesser than being a business growth consultant, because a business growth consultant is, to me, the maximum way to leverage time. And this one, when you're a social media manager, you have to actually do work. This is what we call the done for you stuff. And it is what most business owners want. Most business owners want the stuff to be done for them. They don't want to know how to bake a cake. They just want the cake already made, and all they got to do is eat it, right? I mean, so this is it does take more time because you have to actually do it for people.
Makes sense. So how long would it take, do you think, for a church planner that becomes a Facebook ad consultant to then make money?
You know, I'm going to address that with a couple of different strategies. And this is part of what came out of our mastermind group with the business growth consultants. So we've got one of our church planners. He's over in the UK. He's in Wales. And he was like, hey, I'm going to do this stuff with Facebook. And you and I were both on the mastermind call. And he's like, I'm going to charge, I don't remember what it was, but it was like the equivalent of $100 in the US, right? And we're both like, dude, do you have any idea what you bring to the table? I mean, everyone wants to start out down here at the bottom, and we're both like, no, you got to go and start out at the top because there's – Anyway, it's a long story, and that doesn't really – it's not germane to my point here. But one of the things that we were talking about with him is we were giving him strategies on here's how you make money like right away. So one of the strategies that we're going to have everyone do who comes through this program is you're going to come through with your own case study. And so here's how that looks. Basically, you're going to go on your own Facebook account. You're going to go into Facebook groups, and you're just going to put out there, hey, guys, I'm working with some guys who are really doing some great things with Facebook advertising, and I'm looking to have a couple of case studies of my own as I go through this. If you'd be interested in having someone professionally manage your Facebook ad account, I'll be happy to do that for the next 30 days. Go ahead and private message me if it's something you'd be interested in. And what's interesting, when you put something like that out there, people will respond to it because there's a ton of business owners who are like, I don't have time for this, and I want to just turn this over to someone. And especially if you're in like different type of Facebook groups or anything like that. I saw this one guy's like, hey, you know what? I'm killing it in the chiropractic field, and I want some case studies in some other industries. If you want someone who can help you with your Facebook, I'll be happy to do it for free. Just private message me or leave a note in the comments. And there was like 48 comments. So I don't even know how many more people messaged him, right? Wow. And so, yeah, here's the next step. So they private message you or they leave a note in your comments. That way you can then follow up with them. And this is what you tell them. You go, look, here's the deal. I'll manage it for free. Won't charge you anything. You have to pay for the advertising. What's your advertising budget? And you're going to have a set number that you want to be working with. Maybe you want them to be spending at least $500 a month, $1,000, $10,000, whatever it is, right? Just depends on the market that you're working with. Let's just say it's $500. So they go, hey, look, you know what? I'm happy to put $500 into Facebook advertising to test this out. Great. Here's the deal. Would you be willing to pay me a commission on anything that I can help you generate? So normally I would charge a monthly fee and I would charge a percentage, but just pay me a commission. I'll run everything for free for you. And there's a certain number of them who are going to be like, yeah, absolutely. In fact, probably all of them would say that because it's going to cost them one way or another anyway. So my point is this, is what I want to have happen. It is so quick to get business on Facebook because I do this for all of my clients that really within training, you should be making money. because we're going to be putting out ads immediately as we're going through the training and helping them generate more business, and therefore you are going to get paid. Then you go to step 2, which is at the end of 30 days, once you've already shown them that you can knock it out of the park, then you can go, basically, as we're coming up to the 30 days, hey, just to let you know, our 30 days are almost at an end. Let me know if you'd still like some help going forward, and we can work something out. And again, a certain number of them are going to say, yeah, this has been great. We're getting leads like crazy, and we're getting sales. This is working out. Let's do it. Let's work together. Well, great. This is what I charge on a monthly basis. And boom, you're off to the races. And now you've got what we call in the consulting world, you've got your monthly retainer and you've got your percentage of the sales. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, Pete, actually, I'm actually taking some notes here. And I'm thinking, by the time that, because obviously I'll pay for a course on a credit card, right? By the time that credit card statement comes due, I could have the money already brought in to pay for the course that I just took, right? So it doesn't cost you anything. That's just taking some notes. So,
and by the way, that's how most small businesses do their advertising. They put their advertising on a credit card, hoping to get a client to pay for the ad that they just ran before the payments due. So that's kind of how businesses do all of their advertising. So what you just mentioned.
So can you give some examples of how Facebook advertising might help some businesses?
Yeah, it's all over the place and in so many different industries. So as an example, one of my clients is in the training industry, and one of the products she's got a $3,000 marketing course for real estate agents. And so we market that thing various different ways, but one of the ways that we market it that's totally hands-off is by using Facebook ads. And so we have a whole, what we call a sales funnel setup that starts with the Facebook ads. And this is all stuff that we're going to get into in the training. And we acquire clients right now at about $800 per client. Customer acquisition cost is what that's called. And so what that means is if she's making $3,000 and it costs her $800 to acquire that. Now, in the training industry, most of that is profit. Like merchant account fee is kind of the biggest expense. She's got a lot of different things that are going on for her right there. Number one, it's like, okay, how many times can I spend that $800 a day? Right? That's the question. Because she's making $2,000, $2,200 every time she spends $800. Minus the merchant account fees. So for her, it becomes just this massive cash generator in her business. But that's the training industry. So then people go, well, what about me? I'm a chiropractor. Chiropractors are awesome too, because chiropractic, they usually have like what we call their set overhead or their sunk cost. They've got the rent that they're already paying. They've got their staff that they've paid. They've already bought their equipment or they financed it. So they know, let's say it's $10,000. I got to make $10,000 every month just to cover my nut, and then everything over that is profit to them. So they're already, covering their nut, covering all of their expenses. And when we start sending them more and more clients via Facebook, that now just becomes profit to them. Because again, for them, the biggest expense is going to be their merchant account fee, because the rest of the stuff is already absorbed in what's called sunk costs. So we do that kind of thing with chiropractors. In fact, I had one chiropractor who was getting ticked at me because he was getting so many leads. He's like, you've got to turn this thing down. I can't take this many phone calls. And that's kind of a cool position to be in. Yeah. I got another client who's a plumber. And now, plumbing is, again, it's a service industry. So I really love service industry, guys, because the profit margins are so much better there. So he's got different kind of expenses, but we are still able to generate business for him. Another one of my clients, if you listen to Church Planter Podcast, is Simplify Church. And one of the things that we do for them is we run what are called demo requests. And we do this all via Facebook ads. And so these are people who say, yeah, you know what? I want to see your system. I want to see how it works. Now, think about that as a business. Someone sees an ad and they go, yeah, I would like a demo of your software. What kind of prospect is that? I mean, you used to sell software, Tyrone. Is that a good prospect?
That's a great prospect because they're already hot. They they already have an interest. I don't have to call them. I don't have to follow them. You know, Pete, I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm taking notes once again, right? You're talking about this chiropractor. Literally yesterday, I drove past a new chiropractor in my neighborhood, and he's got a great space, great location, and he's not done any marketing yet. And I'm thinking, why doesn't he use Facebook? Right? I could go to him today and ask him if he wants to start marketing via Facebook.
Exactly. And if you took that whole approach, hey, look, you know, I've been working with some other businesses in some different areas, which is true, right? You're not saying I did,
right.
You know, Facebook advertising, but you've been working with other businesses in different areas. I need some case studies. Right. I'd like to have a case study of a chiropractor doing Facebook ads. I'll be happy to work with you. And it doesn't have to be 30 days. You can say 14 days, 21 days, 30 days, whatever. I'll be happy to do that for you for free if you'll pay for the ads. Is that something you'd be interested in? And, you know, they come into things like, well, you know, what does that mean? I'm paying for the ads. Am I giving you the money? And what I tell them is I go, no, you're actually going to set up your own account with Facebook. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. You're going to pay Facebook directly. It's not going to go to me. I don't want your credit card for this. And then people are like, okay, so I'm legitimately paying for, you know, $500. Let's use that as an example in ads. Yeah, you're legitimately going to pay for $500 in ads. And because they're paying it directly to Facebook. And when you start generating like calls to them and texts to them and stuff like that, they're like, okay, this is an awesome way to get business. But let me also say that it's not for every business. Like, I don't think Facebook works in every situation. And so let me just put it like this. Who Facebook doesn't work for, number one, I would say is going to be businesses that aren't willing to invest enough in ads. So if someone's like, well, look, I want to test it with $100, like, I'm not even going to waste my time, because I mean, there have been some businesses, like I worked with a tax resolution company. So these are the guys that advertise on radio and TV. Hey, if you got $10,000 that you owe to the IRS, call us. We'll help you, blah, blah, blah. It took us probably $300 to $500 to figure out the right mix of what the ad needed to say, what the who the exact market was that we needed to target with our ad on Facebook to start generating leads. And then we were generating them at $20 a pop. But it probably took us, like I said, $300 to $500 to do that. If they weren't willing to spend that, right. Now they came right out of the gate and were like, look, we'll throw $5,000 this month at this, right? So they had, wow. Well, and that was nothing to them, because their marketing budget was like $78,000 or something like that when I first met them. So for them to shave out $5,000 and stick it over there was nothing. But they also didn't know how to run anything. So, you know, I came in and I'm like, look, here's the deal. It's $1,000 to me a month for anything less than $5,000 in ad spend, and then basically, I think it was over $5,000 in ad spend. I got 15%. So if they were doing $10,000, then I'm going to get $1,500. $20,000, I'm going to get $3,000. You know, so on and so forth. I just did it as a percentage, and I think I even charged them like $2,500 to start, just because of all the research that needed to be done with them
per client.
Yeah.
That's per client per month, and how many? I mean, how long does each client really take you, Pete?
Well, it depends, right? It depends. I can't honestly say that it's like, you know, oh, it's 5 minutes and you're done, because when you're first setting it up, like, that's where all of the work is when you're first setting it up. So I've actually got strategies for that. And one of the things that we do is we look at what works for them in their other forms of advertising. So if they're using postcards or newspaper ads or magazine ads or flyers or whatever, okay, what works there? Radio ads. What works there? Now, how can I take that message and use it on Facebook? So there's a little bit of work, I would say, at the beginning. I would say it depends on the industry. There could be a lot of work. And then once you've got that nailed down and squared away, then it's just a matter of the upkeep, which with them, I don't think I did anything for like 3 months. I mean, so it was like once I had it set up, then 3 months later I went in there and changed the ad because it stopped pulling as well. But, you know, it's going to be different, right? It's going to be different in every industry. But who it doesn't work for, if you don't have enough money to throw at advertising. So too small of a business, I'd say, you know, may not be worth it. I usually use as a good rule of thumb for myself, you got to spend at least $1,000. I know for church planners, to them, they could be like, wow, that's like the world. You know, what client could spend $1,000? So I'd say go ahead and start at 500 if that's what you want someone to have. And I wouldn't mind doing that at all for the case study clients. You know, you can learn a lot with $500. And you also start to improve your skill set in an industry with each new client, which then makes it even more valuable to the next client. Because, you know, let's say you've been doing chiropractic ads for 6 months. You can pretty much write your ticket in that industry because you know exactly the ad and who you need to target for each location, and you know what the demographics are and how far from the office you need to run the ad, and you know after that point it doesn't work anymore, and you can just basically take that and keep going from from office to office in the same industry, reusing the same ads, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. You know, actually, Pete, using some of the strategies you taught me, I was out doing some email campaigns and mailing campaigns, and the same thing that I did for this one company, I took to the next company. And yeah, you're right. I did a lot of time up front for this one company, but then really I've used it for almost 2 years. This one particular ad type, and it's because of the stuff you taught me that's helped me. Hey. Is this an appropriate time to ask? You know, what's the investment for this Facebook program you have?
That's so funny. I like how you asked that. Can I ask? Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's obviously everyone wants to know what's the investment for the program. So let me put it like this. One of the changes that I'm making to the business growth consulting program is that in order to get into that program, you have to have gone through the Facebook social media manager program, because I know that when you dominate as the social media manager, it's going to be a really easy transition for you to go from that to full-grown business growth consultant. So let me just say this, that everything that you invest towards the Facebook social media manager program will be applied at a later date as well to the business growth consulting program. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So it's going to be a stepping stone. We're going to get you up, get you running, get you making some money. And once you're really dominating there and you're like, okay, now it's time for me to go to the next step, great. Now you can do it. Now you also don't have to worry about the $5,000 expense and investment, because you're going to be making plenty of money already. I mean, you wouldn't obviously continue on unless you were making plenty of money. So 2 things I'll say on this. Number one, the Facebook ad consultant program, social media manager, or however you want to determine or call yourself in that industry, when I end up selling it as a standalone product, I should say, not a project, I'm going to be selling it for $2,997 or $3,000. Right now, it's not for sale as a standalone system. So the way that you get that program is by being in what I call the church planner inner circle. And it doesn't matter if you're a bivocational pastor and you're like, hey, I'm not a church planner. I'm just I'm just a pastor, as if there's just a pastor, right? I work with church planners, so that's why I always use that term, church planner. And a lot of pastors of small churches, let's face it, if you're bivo as a pastor, you probably are a church planner. Like, even though you may not have planted that church, you have to use what church planners use to grow that thing and keep it running. So I call it the church planner inner circle. And what the church planner inner circle is, that is where we set up a Voxer group with all the church planners, and you're always able to Vox into the group. You're able to hear from me. So you got a question on a client, what do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? All that type of stuff. We've got the Voxer. And kind of the kicker to this program is it comes with two-day mastermind events a year, where you get to come in and we're going to sit down as a crew, as a bunch of pastors, missionaries, church planners, and we're going to look at 2 main things. One is going to be ministry, and I'm bringing in Peyton Jones to help us out with that stuff, because obviously he's the ministry guy. He's the church planner out of the 2 of us. And we're going to be spending a large part of our time as well covering the business side of things, the BIVO side, if you will. Okay, so I'm a BIVO pastor. You know, what are other strategies that guys are using to earn what they need to earn as a bivocational pastor? And so we're going to put those on, and they're intentionally meant to be smaller groups because of the interaction. So we've got the Voxer going on, and then we've got these 2 masterminds every year that are going to go on. And the investment in the Church Planter Inner Circle group is $2,000 a year. And, of course, we've got payment plans for everyone who needs that. But you're going to get, as part of that, you're going to get the Social Media Manager program. And that's going to be the first thing that we're going to go through, and we're going to go through that virtually, right? You're not going to have to fly out here and go through the program or anything like that. Because I know most guys are all over the country, and some are, you know, even international, just like we've got in our consulting program. But the real kicker is you're part of the inner circle. And all of the guys who are in our business growth consultant program, they're all grandfathered in for the first year. They're in the inner circle as well. And it's not something that you're obligated to keep after the first year. It's not like, oh, well, you know what, do I have to keep doing this? Look, if it wasn't right for you, no, of course not. You know, everything you got is yours. Use it. But we're trying to create a community. I'm trying to create something that really helps church planners. And that's the point behind it. So I hate coming back to my stand alone line of does this make sense? But Tyrone, you're on the outside hearing this for the first time. Did what I say, does that resonate? Is that clear?
Yeah, I think so. For me, and many of the people that have already gone through your program already, it wasn't only the content, but it was the community that brought us through it. Because there's so much you learn. And by having everybody kind of come together and share what's working for them here or working for them there, it's just been transformative. And it's almost like it's made us more successful because we had that sense of community. I also like the idea of being able to come together for a seminar that's focused not only on church planning, but also on the business side of it. Hey, Pete, where do they go to get more information?
Well, what they need to do is they need to head on over to BIVOsocialmediamanager.com, and that'll have all the information right there where you can get registered. If you've got a question and you're like, hey, you know what, I want to talk to Pete first, then all you got to do is go to speakwithpete.com, and that will take you to my calendar, and you can get right on my calendar, and we can chat. But I'd say, hey, if it sounds like it's something you want to do, the investment is only it's only $2,000, man. I mean, that's just it's a small investment in this, and I realize for some, well, they're like, $2,000, that's a lot. Look, I'm telling you guys, this is again, it's the steal of a lifetime, and I'm not going to hold back on you. I'm not going to in any way, you know, that's for the advanced course. You know, once you get in the advanced course. No, the only advanced course is the business growth consulting, which I'm sure you would agree, Tyrone, is so massive. I mean, it's a massive program.
I think it's the right step. It's the right process to go from here to there. And honestly, guys, the $2,000, the amount of money you're going to make doing this program, I mean, if you make that from one client in the course of a month, I mean, think about that. This could be life-changing. It's a small investment that something's going to take you from here to there. Pete, there was something that I heard a couple years back that said, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing what you've done here. I just want to give you a chance to once again say it.
Speakwithpete.com if you want to talk to me. And if you're like, hey, look, I want to get in on this first group. Again, I like to keep the group small so that way I can answer all of your questions as you're going through it. I mean, that doesn't change. But you can get registered right away at BIVOsocialmediamanager.com. BIVOsocialmediamanager.com. But yeah, man, that's the next step.
Hey, Pete, thank you so much for taking this time to talk to me.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tyrone. I appreciate this.